Meet you. I recognized you from the website.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I pictured you as blonde. I don't know why.
That's funny. I did used to be blonde. Um, I didn't go back, naturally brunette. I didn't go back to brunette until last year.
Oh, looks good. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And anybody else, I'll let them take a photo of it. Thank you so much. Nice to meet you. Making a good contact. So anyway. Yeah, we can put that.
Is there any particular time frame or is it?
The mics are on. I'm gonna be there. I am gonna.
Can you check your phone and look at YouTube?
Hey, good evening. Welcome to Beulah Middle School. This is the first kickoff for our Beulah Master Plan, and we've got a lot of folks here. First, I want to thank everyone. I know it's been a hot day. It's been extremely hot out there today. I've been out in the field all day and raced to get here, but I'm so thankful that we have a big turnout. I was speaking with the folks who are going to be completing the master plan, and they all, to a person, said we're really, really excited to see the community come out. So thank you for being here. The other thing that they told me is it's critical. It's critical that we get participation from the folks, the stakeholders that live here. I know that you all wouldn't be here if you didn't care. So from the bottom of my heart, I say thank you. It's going to be a process. There's going to be many opportunities for the public to comment and to bring their ideas and to provide input. Later, the staff that's here and our consultant and our contractor is going to put up a website that you can go to and provide input. They're going to have QR codes where you can answer survey questions. So I just want everyone here to know this is your process. It's been a long time coming. We started the work to get a master plan for the entirety of Beulah back in 2016, late 2016, and it's been that long of a process. Of course, we know there's been a lot of things that have happened between then and now, but it's happening. We got it funded. We got the contract let. Everyone's here. So without further ado, again, thank you all for being here. I'm going to introduce the staff, and then like you, I'm going to be over here watching because I'm very interested to see all the feedback that you guys are going to bring. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up our Director of Development Services, and he can introduce the staff over here, and then they will also introduce our consultants. So without further ado, please give a warm welcome to Horace Jones, Director of Development Services.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm not going to prolong the time with you, but we'd like to came out again. It's your plan, your process. We're so grateful to Mr. Gosh, his vision and his community vision. So right now we get ready to introduce some of the staff, the county staff. First of all, we have our illustrious Ms. Debbie Bosch, the Assistant County Administrator. We have Mr. Jamie, Director of Public Works, he's here. We have the Deputy Director, Mr. Tyler. We have one of the best planners in Pensacola, one of the lead planners, senior planner, Mr. John Fisher. We have the smart one of the bunch, our Deputy Director for the Development Services, Mr. Andrew Homer. We have a very, very good, excellent project manager who works for the Natural Resource Department, Ms. Terry Berry. And we have the one and only. None other than Mr. Chris Phillips, Deputy Director of the Engineering Department and Access Management. And now we get ready to introduce the consultant who we hired to work with us, to work with the community, Mr. Jason. He's coming at this time.
Hello, my name is Jason Lashton. I work for Sigma Consulting Group. I've worked in the Pensacola area for 28 years. I'm very familiar with this area. I feel like our project team will be able to give you guys a quality product that you're all proud of. First and foremost, I would like to thank Commissioner Pagans, Escambia County, and all the residents that are here for allowing us to speak to you this evening, and the opportunity to provide the services for the Beulah Master Plan. We have assembled a project team of planners, environmental scientists, economists, and engineers, to develop the master plan. Our project team lists as follows, and if you want to call your name, please stand up. Excuse me. Javier Juan, he works for CPH. He's our expert planner. He's got 40 years of experience. Glenn Molly, he works for Long Consulting. He's worked in the Pensacola area longer than I have, over 70 years. Lynn Dellinger, she works for RMA. She's our economist. And last but not least, Derek Scott, who works for Alta. He's our transportation planner. And with that, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Javier.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Commissioner and county staff. Hello. Yes, before we start the presentation, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a practicing land planner. in the state of Florida for over, I think, 41 years. I'm a graduate of the University of Florida with a master's degree in urban regional planning, concentration in land planning and urban design. I have been personally responsible for over 10 vision master plans in the state of Florida, and one in Spain and in Mexico as well. And one of the underlying issues and key elements to a successful master plan is y'all, or y'all, I should say, citizen participation. Because a plan without citizen participation is no plan at all. Yes, we handle technical aspects. Obviously, that's what we went to school and training and experience. But without your all's input and the end result in an implementable plan, it does not work. So I thank you for being out here under these weather conditions that are, wow, I'm a Florida boy and I've never experienced this kind of heat. Grew up in Palm Beach County, went to University of Florida, as I mentioned. I've been practicing up and down the east coast of the United States, of the Constitution of the state of Florida. So I'm very excited about this because 30,000 acres with all types of environmental issues, positive and challenging, population growth, unprecedented for this area of the state. So I believe that with a collective knowledge of our team members, we believe that we can put together a plan that's implementable, responsible, and it truly looks at the future. We have no perceived ideas as to what this plan is going to look like. And again, I'm repeating myself, without y'all's input, this plan will not go anywhere. So it's critical. Some of y'all already have beat us to the punch. We have an aerial photograph mounted back there and have identified your parcel where you live. That's critical within the study area. I also see that y'all didn't start filling out some of the questionnaires. So that is critical. That's a great idea. And you guys have done this before, obviously, and know how the process works. So master plan goals, without getting into too much detail, fairly self-explanatory. To be a growth plan that is responsible and maintains to create a plan that reflects y'all's aspirations and the sustainability of the area, maintaining the character of what makes Beulah, the Beulah area, extremely unique. We establish a vision. How do we go about establishing a vision? With y'all's input. And third, we need to produce a master plan with items that are implementable, a list of ideas and work items, such as, let's say, improve this road, create more open space, provide parks and recreation. Those are the things that eventually will go to the county commission for funding to make Beulah a great place to live. How do you become a part of the master plan? Corporate workshops, a website, questionnaires, project updates, and questions to the consultant himself. The schedule itself, we've made it very simple. This is one of six scheduled community meetings, so you will be heard. The next one's scheduled for sometime in October. Once we have that date dialed down, we'll let you know. And there will be a charrette where we have exercises and what you all want to see happen in the community in the future. And second, and last steps is the last item in the presentation. But how is this going to work today? We will have each consulting team, land planning, biology, transportation, and economics, give us a brief overview of what we've found out so far, and then we're going to turn it into I encourage everybody to participate in putting in your push the board itself, the photograph, fill out the applications, and then we're going to open up for general questions. So very simple, straightforward. We're not proposing anything at this time. Introducing the project, introducing the team, and we urge you to any questions, answers, thoughts, ideas, they're all welcome. So that, I'll go, the first board, which is the existing conditions. that you can appreciate here on the right side. And I believe it's able to each other. And it deals with existing land use. The various categories within the study area itself. Very straightforward information. And you can see that the overwhelming land use is residential, with a lot of conservation. That is critical. And the split, as you can see, is discernible. We don't upset that trend. That's something that makes the Beal area extremely unique. Let's go to the next slide. Designations, we talked about that as well. Let's go to the next one. Very telling. Mostly residential. There were 6,000 units in 30,000 acre study area. That is tremendous growth. And the pattern continues. So how do we make the future, the continued growth patterns better? We need your all to help in making that happen. Next slide. I'll turn it over to Glenn. Where's Glenn? And he will address some of the environmental concerns or issues within.
Hey, good evening. My name is Glenn Wiley. I'm the principal ecologist with Biome Consulting Group. Among the team are one of the two local firms, we're homegrown in Pensacola. You might ask, why on an exercise that's land planning, where professionals, planners, and engineers, why on earth is there an ecologist? The answer is, these guys are artists, and the land is the canvas. So it's our job to form them, the material that they're working with. So as the principal ecologist for the team, we have reviewed all of the sort of background information on landscape position, geography, ecology, what critters are there. The other aspect of that is you might think, well, you just put on the land what you want to put on the land. Well, of course, the local government has plans for that. That's what we're here for. But beyond that, there's all kinds of regulations that protect things that we refer to as the four horsemen of apocalypse land development: wetlands, imperiled species, cultural resources, and hazardous substances. So we need to have a full and comprehensive understanding of those parameters of landscape in order to make an appropriate plan that works with the natural material that's at our disposal. I'm involved in many of these types of exercises, and frequently I'm the most important guy on the team because there's something that's critical or critically endangered, and the entire plan hinges on a critical environmental parameter. In this case, the environmental limitations from a regulatory perspective are quite limited. So I have far less of a role. All the information has been provided. The plan will take into account the landscape we have to work with, but there's no giant things that are going to severely limit it. Something you might be familiar with, the master plan I was involved with a few years ago on Perdido Key. And on Perdido Key, there is a critically endangered animal. And the entire plan was predicated on working around ensuring the recovery of that species. So our role was far more involved. We find, frankly, that the only big issue that confronts the master plan is all that green you see, which is your study area, Beulah in general, has lots and lots of wetlands. And wetlands are thoroughly regulated, and there's regulatory processes that make challenging land development plans. So the team will be thoroughly informed on all that. If you have any questions about environmental regulation stuff, happy to talk about it. No need to worry about it with it right now. So.
Thank you, Glenn. Now I'd like to introduce Lynn. Lynn is our economic expert. And you may ask, why an economist in the master plan process? It's imperative to have an economist assess current conditions, but more importantly, sort of estimate what's going to happen in 25 years relative to economic demand and how we best accommodate the growing, the population relative to infrastructure needs, school needs, financial needs, and land use. So she's an intricate part of the master plan process.
Here. Lynn Dellinger with RMA, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much for having us and for the interest you're showing in this community. It's exciting to be part of it. So when you're planning a master vision plan, you want an economic profile, and you want to make sure that you get the right analysis because it's so important. So every economic profile is going to look at 5 major drivers of economic development. No, I'm not talking about what's up there yet, because we've got to look at the land and what's there, what we were just talking about. We've got to look at the labor market, got to understand what the labor market is. We've got to look at capital. What capital is available in the marketplace today to finance new development, and how is that going to occur? And we want to look at the markets. What's the real estate market doing? What is the banking market doing? Those are very, very important and part of what we'll look at in our analysis. And then the last thing we want to look at is we want to look at the existing regulations. And we talk to the team about, you know, these are the regulations that are in place, but if you're going to do this, then you're going to have to look at maybe changing those regulations a little bit. So that's what that master plan is going to do for you. Now, what we've done is we've already looked at what the population in just the Beulah area is. And it's approximately 25 square miles. And we know that there are over 21,000 people that live here. Very interesting fact that we found out is that over 15,000 people are here all day long. In other words, that's your daytime population. So what we did when we got the assignment was we looked back at some of the studies and surveys that you had done before, and you said, we want restaurants. Well, we've got to build a case to bring the right kind of restaurants here. You need 15,000 people in the trade area in a daytime population before restaurants will consider coming to your community. So that's one of the key indicators that we're looking at already. The other thing that we've already looked at, and it seems to be very important in this particular community, is what we call tapestry segmentation. And tapestry segmentation is a new way of looking at demographics and psychographics and understanding what your community is. Because besides being 21,000 people, I also know that your age is 44. So it's a young community. It's a white-collar community. This is a highly educated community. You've got a lot going for you here. And not only that, one of the biggest things that we see are the businesses that are here, the employment that is here, and what Javier was just talking about was the population growth. So we already know that from 2020 to 2023, you've had 5.35% growth in your population. That is astounding. Your median household income is $79,000. It's a little bit more than that. But that's higher than the state of Florida. So you're dealing with a community that is growing in leaps and bounds. We already know that. We know that you're highly educated, and we know because we looked at that segmentation tapestry. By the way, there are 67 different tapestries that are analyzed throughout the country. And they come up with a neighborhood characteristic. The #1 tapestry segment in Beulah is Green Acres. And what do we know about the Green Acres neighborhood person? Well, that person is professional, they're family, they are interested in sports activities, they are looking for restaurants, and sometimes they're looking for restaurants with a little bit higher expectation of the cuisine. They're looking for some more variety in the restaurants. They're looking for some Asian, some Mexican, some different ethnic varieties of restaurants to come into the city or into the area. And they're also looking at entertainment and movie theaters and gathering houses. So the tapestry segmentation goes a little bit deeper than your typical economic analysis, but that's what we feel is very important to bring to light tonight for you. So we'll be doing a lot more of it.
Thank you, Lynn. The next topic is always a riveting and fun topic, and being extremely facetious, because this issue is a common issue throughout the state of Florida. It's transportation. So I'd like to introduce Eric from Alta, a highly credentialed transportation planning firm in the United States, and we're happy to have him on board.
Thanks, Amir. Welcome, everybody. It's great to see you all. I'm going to be pretty quick, mostly because I want to make sure we have enough time to hear from you all and understand what your transportation concerns are. But transportation is just so crucial to quality of life. We've been driving around today, did a site visit a couple weeks ago, which we'll hear from Richard here, my colleague here in a second, a little bit more about. But when you have this growth, when you have such amazing amenities and facilities already that exist here, but when people want to come here, that demand often makes it more challenging to get around. I know you all have experienced that with the level of congestion that exists. And so we're going to be looking at, okay, what is currently programmed and planned, what is funded, what needs to be funded, and what are some of the alternative ways of getting around as well to make sure that there are options for people who don't have access to vehicles or want to have an element of transportation that is active. If that's walking, it's biking, if it's other ways to get around as well. So real quick, I want to introduce my colleague Richard, who's going to speak a little bit more about the specifics. And we hope you can come over to our station afterwards and give us feedback about what needs to happen here in Vietnam.
Ooh, there we go. So transportation is the area that directly affects you pretty much day to day. And so what are the major roads here? In this area, I-10, Pine Forest, Beulah, and Beulah Live. And they're listed here. They have fancy titles and such, but we don't need to worry about that. What we do need to worry about is traffic. You all know it. We see it. You drive it every day. You know the roads are congested. Beulah Road, 9 Mile Road, has a lot of cars. I-10, very congested, 36,000 cars per day. But some segments even have upwards of 50,000. Blue Angel Parkway, we drove today. You drive it a lot. It's pretty bad. It's backed up. But these are the major roads we're looking at. These are the traffic counts we're looking at. We're looking at these to develop some sort of recommendations at some point. But for now, the traffic counts are here, and you all understand it better than these numbers can represent, truly. So FDOT, which is the Florida Department of Transportation, and the county have already developed some projects in the pipeline in various stages of funding and implementation. We just finished the 9 Mile widening out here. There's some others programmed. So I-10, that is not funded, but they do want to widen it to 6 lanes from the Alabama line down to, I guess, US 29. Some other projects include potentially a new interchange at Beulah Road, widening Beulah Road 4 lanes, even widening further 9 Mile to 6 lanes, and addressing some issues with Blue Angel Parkway as well, widening that, as well as Pine Forest. In the county, we obviously have on the backside of Ola Bay, Frank Reeder Road. It's going to be a big one, especially once they put in the interchange at Beulah Road. That is planned to be widened to 3 lanes. There's some additional sidewalk projects as well, planned or funded, including a sidewalk on the Rebel Road to help better connect to this very place that was living. So, with any transportation projects, there are a lot of factors that are compounding. Biggest one, in my experience, a big one, utilities. There's a lot of utilities out there. Various utilities, got the Florida Power and Light, other electric and telecommunications, AT&T, and some internet providers. Hand back to you now.
Thank you, Richard. One of the things that during our initial discovery stage in the process has been analysis of existing information. So a couple of years ago, you all underwent a survey that was spearheaded by the university in the Haas report that pointed out some fantastic information relative to traffic, traffic and crime, major concerns. But let's go to the next slide. This is a very important slide. Why? Because it points out the quality of life metrics and the preferences that are key to this master plan. So we're not reinventing the wheel. You guys have done a phenomenal job and pointing out exactly what your needs are. So we're going to be using this information from this survey and this study as a foundation to establish a framework for the vision, complemented by y'all's participation as we move through the process. This is precious information, and it will be part of the plan itself. Let's go to the next slide. Again, amenities that are critical: fire station, restaurants, paths, transportation, as Eric mentioned, critical. So, what are the elements of the master plan? Land use, transportation, infrastructure, environment, economics. So we have a layer of information, analyze alternatives, master plan. So it touches upon all aspects of our daily living, or we all daily living and beyond. So the bottom line is, in a year's time, when we complete the report, when we go before the commissioners at the county and present our findings, and hope to obtain an adopted plan with an implementation schedule that will not only address these issues, but enhance the living conditions and the vision for the area itself, and establishing a great place-making area. One of the things that I wanted to emphasize as well and mention is the fact that the local folks, the Cigna folks, they will not only be the team lead addressing specific concerns directly with the Commissioner's office and staff, but also they will be looking at utilities and infrastructure, which are critical to future growth: water, sewer, and the provision of those services, critical to any growth plan. So I'd like to now, part of the presentation now is the exercise list 2 and 1. I encourage everyone to fill out the questionnaire, and if you haven't already done so, go ahead and look at the aerial photograph and place a pin at your homestead, and then we'll look for questions. So we can have quite some time left in the presentation, so at the end. But I'd like to once again acknowledge the Commission. Why? Because it's through his vision and his insistence upon this master plan for a better county. So kudos to the Commission on this. Fantastic. So as far as questions, you can raise your hand and give you a microphone, let people take notes. We encourage you to, again, to fill out the questionnaire and participate on the aerial photo. So, question? Listen. Post office. Yes, sir.
I'll answer your question. I contact the postmaster general. We offer space because I know everyone needs post office. And then I was interested in the distribution area. He said they're closing.
Yes.
Hi, Teresa Blackwell. When I listened to Glenn, he talked about environmental, and one of the things that was something up here, we talked about green space. So I'm going to be interested in, for me, I think a lot of us came here because of the green space, and we've got spacious lots with trees and, nature. We've got the preserve over there, and one of the reasons we're here is because of all that green. So I'm going to be interested in ways that we can preserve that, mechanisms for doing that. How can we, do that? That's a major thing that I'm going to be interested in. The economics of doing that, are there ways to approach that?
Of course, and you do have a beautiful community. And a master plan looks at future land use. When we look at existing land use, we don't have someone to advance this back to our our prior slide. But there's, we're quite constrained for future land use as it stands. There's two landowners that are going to preserve precisely what you're talking about. The Perdido River watershed largely been acquired by the state is in public ownership. So, nothing goes there. It's a giant green swath that encompasses the western third of the study area. Beyond that, the primary land use in the region is silviculture and forests that are grown for decades to produce timber and fiber. And that's not likely to change. There's no motivation for that land use to change. So that many thousands of acres of forest persist in the landscape. And so what we're left with, all of that green is the challenging piece. I will note from an environmental regulatory perspective, to get permission to impact a wetland is a daunting procedure. I mean, if you want to build your home on your property and you need to impact a tenth of an acre to get your driveway, you're going to spend a lot of money and it's going to take a year to accomplish that task for a tenth of an acre. If you're contemplating a large development on the landscape, more than a fraction of an acre, it can take far longer than that. But key to all environmental regulatory processes is a process generally referred to as mitigation. And that includes three things, and all three happen, and they happen in order. And that's avoidance, minimization, and compensation. Any proposal to put anything on that landscape that impacts a wetland will go through that process, and it will be vigorously defended by the regulatory agencies. Once the site plan passes through the avoidance and minimization stages, which is challenging, but that's what we do for a living. We make those presentations, and you come to the place where, okay, you've demonstrated avoidance, you've demonstrated minimization, now you're going to have to provide compensatory mitigation in order to get permission to impact that wetland. That's where Buell is extremely challenged, because the primary mechanism for doing that is purchasing a credit from the Wetland Mitigation Bank. Won't get into that, but that is the way to get the compensatory piece taken care of. There are no wetland mitigation banks that serves Buell, so any proposal to impact wetland immediately faces that challenge, which is daunting.
Maybe you aren't exactly the right person to ask that question. All that is good, but I think a thing that a lot of us like is the large lot residential. So is there a way to perhaps economically incentivize keeping those large lot residentials in some way? So that may be a different department, I don't know.
Of course, and so that falls into planning and density, and that's the artist. So I'll give him the paintbrush.
I call many things in my life and I'm an artist, but it's a very good question. Hello? Good question. That's one of the challenges, because this is a rural community, and one of the highlights of the rural community is green space, the large size lots. So there's a balance. How do we, and that's where Lynn's analysis comes into play as well, because we're getting more people, and we have a planning horizon of 25 years in this master plan. So how do we accommodate that growth? So there are many tools that we can use in the land planning toolbox, such as clustering, density transfers, minimum size lots or maximum size lots, densities, as Glenn mentioned. So this is something that we're going to be engaging staff as well to help us navigate those waters and come up with something that preserves the current environment, no pun intended on the wetland stuff, but also accommodates growth. Because growth is good if it's done the right way. Anybody, gentlemen, sir?
This is your question for your environmental. We've not had wetland regulations for far too many years, but we've got a lost in our regulations when we look at, Corps of Engineers and DEP. In the last, I'd say 10, 15 years, we're starting to see stream restoration projects, which is virtually going in and restoring the hydraulics and hydrology. Could y'all speak a little bit on that in reference to trying to resolve flooding issues? I understand the importance of minimization, but we're actually getting grants now, like up on Belmont Creek, where you can you're restoring the hydrology of the creek. So, have anything to say on that?
Well, I only thought my part was minimal on this particular plan, but I'm the one with the microphone is often. So one of my professional titles, I'm one of a very few certified ecological restoration practitioners. So ecological restoration is my heart and passion. I'm in this business not to show my grandchildren the Walmart something on the landscape, but the unique and persistent ecosystems that have been restored and perpetually managed. Everything that you mentioned are absolutely critical. My challenge is in the few minutes we have to discuss a master plan. I could talk to you all night about all this, and I don't want to detract from the matter at hand. What I can say is a master plan is planning for the future, and we can implement further erosion of those concerns. But land management in itself, I 1000% agree with you. We live in a fire climax community. Fire is an essential part of the landscape. It costs a lot of money to maintain land. Look at California, the Indians kept it burning. Now, only you can prevent forest fire. We get 100 years of fuel on the ground. Every fire is catastrophic. Nobody's got the money to do it, so it's a problem, but like all problems, we gotta have a purpose. But what we can focus on is stormwater, appropriate zoning planning, ensuring that there's ecologists on the team, and that the plans for 2043 are very thoughtful and anticipating things that weren't anticipated when infrastructure went on the ground prior to 72 when we had these regulations.
Thank you, Glenn. And I'd like to add that one can not underestimate the importance of wetlands. They are the kidney of the land development. But I'm also a property rights person. I'm a firm believer in property rights. So you need to, like everything in life, there's a balance. Building within the floodway, building within the floodplain. Those are issues that need to be addressed because down the road, those are things that we will be dealing with. So that's some of the issues that we were looking at and maybe formulating some policies for consideration by the elected officials as to how to control that. And not underemphasizing the importance of wetlands and land development and preservation as well. So, anybody else? Questions, comments? Staff, do you all have any questions? Don't be shy. No, you got no shy. Yes, sir. For the benefit of everybody who didn't hear you. Recreational parks in the area. Okay. Part of the assessment, based on the population estimates that Lynn's going to be putting together, is identify recreational needs based on population. We will do an assessment of what it is today, 2023, and we'll extrapolate that information into the population projections in the planning horizon. And with that, we'll identify deficits and need acreage-wise based on population. And then that'll be part of our recommendations. Yeah. And the parks and recreation element of the plan. Yes, ma'am. Is it shared? Yes. Okay. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we got a website for it. You should be able to
we have no thoughts about OFA or the mid-sector plan at this time. We know they exist. Connectivity is a major land planning aspect. How we connect into OFA, it is critical. They're not an island, part of a 30,000 acre study area. And we'll be exploring and studying the impact of us versus them and them versus us, and how to better integrate that particular project, and whatever thing it takes. Anybody else? Going once? Twice?
You're talking about the next meetings today.
Certainly, yeah, yes, Commissioner. As part of the next meeting, it'll be a fun workshop number 2. It's scheduled most likely to mid or late October. And it'll be a design charrette, similar to a visual preference exercise. We'll whip paper and glue, our crayons.
We'll have groups where we all design, write down your ideas with your crayons as to what your vision is for the area itself. You can go from size of lots, green space, arts, things of that nature. So it'll be an interactive exercise. We'll break it into groups. We'll have one design professional land use table, and we'll have people writing down notes. So again, this will be a wealth of information that we'll incorporate into the master plan itself. So that's scheduled for some time, most likely late October. We'll include that. We have great attendance. I cannot speak that being fully advertised, and we provided the county with a lot of information. Now that we have, how do you stay connected? Newspaper articles, websites, like workshops. I encourage the website, questionnaires, updates. We'll make sure working with staff that you guys are in the know about information, and the rest of the process, the project itself, future meetings, heavily advertised, flyers, whatever means to get you out there so that we will not have that happen. Yes, ma'am. We're talking about old thing. Yeah, there's a old one with paint. That's it. As I mentioned before, that plan is done. That has been master plan. My understanding is that something's going on with that. It's within the 30,000 acres, yes. So our mission is to identify it and see how we can integrate the master plan with them. How does the contingent, how do we get this to do like that? That community can be isolated from 30,000 acres. There are neighbors who are going to live in. Anybody else? And I'd like to, any comments from staff or anybody? All right, with that, I'll turn it over to Jason.